Some concepts include other causes in their connotations. There are some connotations that excludes other concepts. It is called logical opposition. Logical opposition of a proposition refers to the distinctive relations which exist between two universal propositions that differ only in quality. It is the different relations that exist between propositions having the same subject and predicate by differing in quantity or quality or both. An opposition in schematic form is known as square of opposition. Square of opposition is a chart that was introduced within classical or categorical logic to represent the logical relationships holding between certain propositions in virtue of them.
The first type of logical opposition is the contradiction. A contradictory opposition is one which exists between two propositions that differ both in quantity and quality. As you can see in the square of opposition, the A proposition in the form of all S or P is contradictory with the proposition O in the form of not all S or P. Same to the E proposition in the form of no S or P, which is contradictory with the I proposition in the form of some S or not P. It has the rules of if one is true, the other is false. Contradictories cannot be both true. If one is false, the other is true. Contradictories cannot be both false.
Here are some examples. For the A proposition in the form of all S are P, all horses are black. It is false. For the O proposition in the form of some S are not P, some horses are not black. It is true. This is an example of the form if A is false, O is true. Another form is if A is true, O is false. For the A proposition, all dogs are animals. It is true. And for the O proposition, some dogs are not animals. It is false. Well, for the example of the form, if E is true, I is false. For the E proposition, in the form of some S or P, some horses are black. It is true. And for the I proposition, in the form no S or P, no horses are black. It is false. And lastly, for the form if E is false, I is true. For the E proposition, no women are married. It is false. And for the I proposition, some women are married. It is true. There are also other forms of contradictory opposition such as number 1, if O is true, A is false. Number 2, if I is true, E is false. Number 3, if O is false, A is true. Number 4, if I is false, E is true. To sum up it all, contradictory oppositions cannot be both true as well as false. One statement must contradict the other statement.
The second type of logical opposition is called contrariety. It is a relation which exists between universal oppositions that differ in quality only. As you can see in this square of opposition, it shows that A, wherein all S are P, what is contrary to P, wherein no S are P.
There are two given laws of contrariety. First, if one is true, the other is false. Contraries cannot be both true. Second, if one is false, the other is doubtful. Contraries may be both false. Example, all cats are animals, which is true, and no cats are animals, which is false. Another is, all flowers are roses, which is false, and no flowers are roses. Since the proposition is false, the other is doubtful, which can either be true or false.
The third type logical opposition, the subcontrary opposition. Subcontrary opposition is one which exists between two particular propositions that differ only in quality. There are two rules in subcontrary. If one is false, the other is true. Subcontraries cannot be both false. Second rule is, if one is true, the other is doubtful. Subcontraries may be both true. Examples: some triangles are squares. Some triangles are not squares. Some students are not present. Some students are present. Some basketball players are tall. Some basketball players are not tall. Some scholars are not dumb. Some scholars are dumb. In C and D, since the first proposition is true, the other one is doubtful, which can be either true or false.
Law of subalternation. Subalternate opposition is one which exists between two propositions that differ only in quantity. A and I are the affirmative subalterns, and E and O are the negative subalterns. The universal subaltern is called superaltern or superalternant. Subalternation. The universal subaltern implies a particular subaltern. The particular subaltern, however, does not imply the universal subaltern. If the universal is true, the particular is true. And if the universal is false, the particular is doubt. For example, the universal is all certainties are not proof, which is true. This automatically would the particular would be true. Some certainties are doubt. The second example is all doctors, and all students are scholars. And which is false. That's why the particular will be doubtful because some students are scholars. The second rule is, if the particular is false, the universal is false. If the particular is true, the universal is doubtful. For example, some athletes are not famous. This phrase is true, so the second one should maybe be able to be true or false. So no athletes are famous, which is false.
Here's the summary of the rules of the logical opposition. A. Contradictory proposition. Number 1. If one is true, the other is false. The number 2. If one is false, the other is true. Example. If A is true, O is false. If E is true, I is false. If A is false, O is true. If E is false, I is true. B. Contrary propositions. If one is true, the other is false. If one is false, the other is doubtful. Example. If A is true, E is false. If A is false, E is doubtful. C. Subcontrary propositions. If one is false, the other is true. If one is true, the other is doubtful. Example. If I is false, O is true. If I is true, O is doubtful. D. Subaltern propositions. If the universal is true, the particular is true. If the universal is false, the particular is doubtful. If the particular is false, the universal is false. If the particular is true, the universal is doubtful. Example. If A is true, I is true. If E is true, O is true. If A is false, I is doubtful. If E is false, O is doubtful. If I is false, A is false. If O is false, E is false. If I is true, A is doubtful. If O is true, E is doubtful. And that's the end of the summary of the rules of the logical oppositions.